The Justice Society of America is one of the most uniquely powerful superhero teams in DC, and they're finally getting their chance at live-action stardom thanks to the Black Adam movie. But who are the strongest JSA members? Let's discuss some JSA powerhouses right now. So, there's something you should know about this list. The Justice Society of America has a long history in the comics and has had an abundance of great members over the years. Pretty much every major DC superhero you can think of has been a card-carrying member at one point or another. And yeah, heroes like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman were in fact original Justice Society members, but then were removed from that history thanks to Crisis on Infinite Earths in a huge retcon. But yeah, the big three and other famous heroes were members, but I'm actually keeping them off this list. Yes, Superman is always going to be one of the most powerful heroes ever, but I wanted to shine a spotlight on some lesser known heroes who are also incredibly powerful. Okay, let's dive in a bit more and start with one of the most powerful beings in the DC universe, the Spectre. He is probably the closest thing to a god in the DC universe. He can manipulate time, space, matter, and energy with relative ease. He can alter reality, he's nearly invulnerable, he can do basically anything he wants. The only thing that could really count as a weakness is that he needs a human host a lot of the time. He is the spirit of vengeance, and his most well-known human host is Jim Corrigan, a hard-boiled cop who was murdered and sent to the afterlife. Yeah, the Spectre is the most powerful hero, and the JSA are lucky to have him. How do we feel about the way Dr. Fate was portrayed in the live-action Black Adam movie? On one hand, I would consider him the absolute standout character, but on the flip side, I don't feel like we really got to dive into his true skill set and powers, and I wonder how much that's because of the MCU. Because yes, in a lot of ways, Dr. Fate and Doctor Strange share a similar visual style, so I feel like the Black Adam movie had to spend time differentiating Dr. Fate from Doctor Strange, which meant focusing more on Fate's vision of the future and his multiplying skills. But Fate is different from Strange, and honestly I think his backstory is a little cooler. The Lord of Order, known as Nabu, exists within a shiny gold helmet, and whoever dons it becomes Dr. Fate. That's always an interesting conflict and sets up a fascinating relationship between Kent Nelson and Nabu. But on top of seeing his live action ability of predicting the future, his comic counterpart can do even more, including traveling through the multiverse and creating his own dimensions. Plus, I'm always a sucker for when Dr. Fate shoots out an energy blast that's shaped like a giant gold ankh. That's so cool. The Black Adam movie changed the hierarchy of the DC universe forever. The Rock did it, folks. And for this entry, I want to discuss Black Adam on the Justice Society. In the comics, there is merit to the anti-hero joining the team as a probationary member, who eventually defected because, you know, of course he did. And the movie teased that Black Adam could work on a team if given the right circumstances. And it should be clear how powerful Black Adam can be. I mean, again, the hierarchy of power has changed, people. But from the moment Black Adam is resurrected, there's not really any threat that can stand a chance against him, and he mows through both his enemies and even the Justice Society like they were made of tissue paper. So if we get more Justice Society in a Black Adam sequel, do you think Ted Adams should be included? I mean, the only downside to him being on the team full-time is that he really highlights just how overpowered he can be compared to every other JSA member. The Flash is clearly one of the most powerful heroes ever. I know I said I was keeping the big and well-known heroes off this list, but this one comes with a twist. Because yes, the Flash was a founding member of the JSA, but it was actually Jay Garrick, the OG Flash. This one has the most visually distinctive costume out of all the Flashes, thanks to his nifty silver saucer hat with little wings on it. I mean, you can't beat that hat, right? And although Jay Garrick isn't as fast as Barry Allen or Wally West, he's still a speedster, which I've always said should be considered one of the best superpowers of all time. In my opinion, it should be nearly impossible to beat a speedster because they can do anything in a blink of an eye. But of course, there needs to be conflict or else the story would be boring. And although he may lack in speed compared to the other Flashes, his experience and wisdom puts him in a much better leadership type of role, which makes him quite valuable. I wonder if we'll ever see Jay Garrick on the big screen. I hope so. In the same vein as The Flash, an alternate older version of Green Lantern is also a founding member of the Justice Society and actually is a team leader. Alan Scott is the first Green Lantern, but only because he's not actually part of the Green Lantern Corps. Yeah, he actually gets his power from Starheart, which is a magical entity and an experimental weapon that was created by the Guardians of the Universe. Basically, this version of Green Lantern has all the same amazing and powerful abilities as the other Green Lanterns, but with one key difference. Whereas normal Green Lantern rings have a weakness for the color yellow, Alan Scott's ring is weak against wood. Alan Scott is a great character, and it's a shame that HBO decided to retool the upcoming Green Lantern Corps show because it originally featured Alan Scott as a main character. I'll admit, Mr. Terrific was a little lower on this list, but just recently, newly appointed head of Warner Bros. Discovery's DC Comics division, James Gunn, tweeted out a picture of Mr. Terrific, and that bumped him up a few spots because obviously this is extremely exciting news. And while he may not be a hero of pure strength, his intelligence is an extremely powerful tool. He's usually placed in the top 3 of the smartest people on Earth in the DC universe, which is seriously impressive, and his ability stems more from being able to learn new information incredibly quickly. Say he didn't know how to perform surgery. Well, he could quickly skim through a textbook and immediately become an expert. He also has one of my favorite abilities in that he's invisible to all forms of electronics, and I think that's incredibly helpful given today's age. Plus, on top of that, he has his T-spheres. Mr. Terrific is, well, he's terrific, and I hope James Gunn's tease is legit. He'd be a great asset to the JSA. If the JSA was looking for a true powerhouse, they would bring Firestorm into the mix. Like a lot of heroes on this list, Firestorm joined the team in the Trinity comic book series, which saw the JSA have a whole hodgepodge of different members, but Firestorm has always stood out to me. Yes, he was prominent in the Arrowverse, but I never believed a TV budget could truly do the character justice given his powerful skill set. Firestorm can rearrange molecular structures of any substance and turn it into other things. On top of that, he basically can transmute the basic composition of an object. Man, do you know how powerful that is? That's insane when you think about it. Sure, his weakness is that he needs to know what's in things in order to turn objects into those things, which can get a little complicated, but still, that's an almost unbeatable ability. Are genies the most powerful entities that you can just stumble upon accidentally? I mean, the genies tend to be able to grant your wildest fantasies, but will always trick you in some way. But that's not really the case with Jakeem Thunder, who has the ability to summon and control a genie from the 5th dimension that's known as Johnny Thunderbolt. And yeah, having a genie at your command is a lot like Aladdin, but Jakeem uses Johnny to fight crime. Basically, anything Jakeem wishes for, he can make happen. But the only downside is how the genie often takes Jakeem too literally, which means Jakeem always has to be very specific and very careful with his wishes. If you had 3 wishes and could only apply them to the DC live-action universe, what would you wish for? Well, I talked about Black Adam, so I should probably talk about his biggest counterpart, Shazam. Yeah, I know calling them true rivals is strange, since apparently, as established in the Black Adam movie, no one has ever heard the name of Shazam the superhero, even though their mythologies are tied together. Anyways, Shazam did join the JSA, and he has all the skills of Black Adam. He's only really hindered by the fact that he's just a kid in a giant super person's body, and that gets him in trouble sometimes. But now I just want to see the live-action Shazam and The Rock's Black Adam forced to team up together on the JSA in order to stop a much bigger threat. Wouldn't that be amazing? I know we all want to see Superman fight Black Adam, but Shazam deserves some recognition and love as well, right? Look, sometimes you love to have heroes that can change molecular structures of objects and other quasi-mystical scientific jumbo, but sometimes you just need a big dude who punches things. That's where Atom Smasher comes into play. Albert Rothstein has been part of the Justice Society of America, and he brings with him size and strength. I mean, what is there to really say about his powers? He uses a certain radiation to grow really big when he wants to, and then can pack a heck of a punch. Yeah, not a hero who's great at fighting indoors though, right? Anyways, in the comics, Atom Smasher does form a pretty significant bond with Black Adam, which results in trouble with his Justice Society membership. I hope Atom Smasher is around for whatever live-action movie they want to do next with the JSA, because I found him really fascinating. If you had the ability to shrink like Ant-Man or grow like Atom Smasher, what would you choose? I mean, yeah, being giant is great and all, but it's gotta be Ant-Man's powers, right? Did you know there are like 5 different heroes who took on the name The Atom? Yeah, it's a popular superhero name, but the one who is a big part of the Justice Society is Al Pratt, the original Golden Age Atom. And while he didn't start off the strongest, he soon gained atomic abilities that made him a nightmare for enemies and set the stage for all his successors over the years. In the comics, Albert Rothstein is his godson, but in the Black Adam movie, they say that Albert is Al's nephew, which is a fine, easy change, but it begs the question of how does something get passed on to a kid from an uncle? Maybe Black Adam's movie was just using the term in a familiar sort, because otherwise I'm not so sure how that works. I think Cyborg has an incredible success story. He started off as mainly a Teen Titans member, but over the years, he's been able to work his way up to where he's a main member of the Justice League. I mean, wouldn't you want Cyborg on your team? He can do practically anything he wants with electronics. He can talk to them, he can soothe them, he can excite them, which, I mean, in this day of age is incredibly valuable. Cyborg is even on the Doom Patrol in their quirky TV show, and it's something that totally works for him. My point is that Cyborg can basically be put on any team and still be this incredibly interesting character worth exploring. It's always interesting to see characters who have these incredible abilities, but only because of a tragic backstory, and Victor Stone is one of them. I always love to explore alternate universe versions of characters because it provides such compelling drama sometimes. Powergirl is the real name of Kara Zor-El and is the Supergirl equivalent on Earth 2. It's a little strange overall. So Earth 2 was basically created in order to explain all the older superheroes of the Golden Age and not get too wonky with the timeline. Powergirl originally hailed over there, but soon found herself stuck in our universe, and then later got stuck in another one. Yeah, comics are weird. Anyways, Powergirl is basically Supergirl, but whereas Supergirl is a little younger and slightly immature at times, Powergirl is the older and wiser version of Supergirl. She even chose the name Powergirl because she didn't want to live in Superman's shadow. And yeah, being from Krypton, you can kind of imagine how strong Powergirl can be. Look, Hawkman, I love you, and I love you in Black Adam, but you have to stop thinking that you're a match for Black Adam. Like, seriously, I had to watch you get your butt kicked like 13 times in Black Adam's movie. Man, but yeah, overall, despite what Black Adam would tell you, Hawkman is pretty strong. The original Hawkman is Carter Hall, and he's one of the founding members of the JSA. So yes, as you can imagine, his wings and his suit are all great aerial tactical gear, and Hawkman has the advantage of being reincarnated whenever he dies, so it's basically like a fun, clean slate of sorts. And he also remembers the skills that he acquires whenever he's reborn again, so that's always fun. I definitely want to see more of Hawkman in the future, and I do wish Hawkman had a little more to do in the Black Adam movie, don't you? Alright, as we get near the bottom of this list, there are some characters who get points just for their style. So that brings me to Sandman. Yes, there's a lot of characters who go by the Sandman in the DC universe, but I'm specifically talking about Wesley Dodds, the OG who is a founding member of the Justice Society. And I think what makes this character cool is that he's such a product of the times. He was prominent in the 40s run of comics and struts around in his green business suit and fedora while rocking an old gas mask and carrying around a gun that puts criminals to sleep. Yeah, the sleepy gun isn't the strongest, but Wesley also has the cool and mysterious power of having these complicated prophetic dreams that turn into crimes, which he has to interpret and try to stop. I think the JSA in Black Adam did great with young blood mixed with old vets, and if they continue to go that route, then I hope they add Stargirl to the mix. Stargirl is one of those heroes who's super powerful, but also pretty reliant on tech. I mean, without her stuff, she's still a solid gymnast and kickboxer, but that's not strong enough to earn a spot on this list. When she's in hero mode, though, she has a cosmic converter belt and the cosmic staff, which gives her strength, speed, durability, etc. The JSA is always seemingly looking for fresh eyes and an eagerness to learn and fight, which I think is why they would be lucky to have someone like Stargirl. Plastic Man deserves his own movie. He has such a vibrant and quirky personality that I think he would really spice things up. And Plastic Man isn't just a stretchy dude. No, his whole molecular structure is neither liquid nor solid, and he exists in a weird in-between state where he can literally do almost anything. He can shrink, grow, expand, morph, whatever you think is possible, Plastic Man can do it. And really, the true treat of watching Plastic Man operate is seeing him interact with other heroes, because his personality personality is a little much sometimes for a solo series, which is why he should be utilized in the DC universe in a team-up sooner rather than later. Which member of the JSA do you want to see in live action next? Who would you cast? Who do you think is the most powerful? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching CBR.